Hello everyone, and welcome back to Archeage 101. My name is Jalon, and I lead the Paradox Guild on the Sulphura server. So if you're on Sulphura and you need anything, feel free to message me in-game or send me an in-game mail. Out of game, you can head over to our webpage at www.paradoxgaming.net, or you can send us an email at the address below. Alright, and good afternoon everyone. Welcome back to Archeage 101. Today's episode is part 7, Housing and Land, the very basics. You'll notice this is the first time I've put a subtitle under the topic for the day. There is so much in the topic of housing and land that if we tried to cover all of it in a video, you would all die by PowerPoint. So this is just the very basics, so somebody who gets that patron knows what to do right away, or somebody that's thinking about should I get patron or not, this might help you to make up your mind. So our objective for today, I'm going to talk about the need for patron, why you have to have it. I'm going to talk about taxes and how they grow based on the number of properties you have. I'm also going to show you the 5-week prepay trick, so that in case you're in a situation where you can't afford your patron, you won't lose all of your property. Then I'm going to talk about housing zones and the impact of climate, about why you're going to want to think about what you're going to do long term before you spend a lot of gold putting down property. And then I'm going to compare and contrast houses versus farms. I'm going to show you the types of houses and some upgraded houses, and I'm going to talk about the farms and some upgraded farms. Before we really get into it, I'm going to ask the veteran players to please remember to keep it simple. I'm going to talk about the very basics today, and I love the fact that you guys come to my YouTube and put comments in the comment section, but try to just focus the comments today on what I talk about in this video. You'll see at the end what I'm going to talk about next, so if you think, oh, I need to say something about that, if it's in the next video's lineup, please just wait till the next video. So patron, and patron being necessary. Patron is necessary to have land, but it's not required to keep your patron up all the time, because you need patron to place land and you need patron to pay your weekly taxes. You can actually fall off and not be a patron but keep your land. I do not recommend that method. I will say it time and time again, do not use the 5-week prepay trick that I'm about to show you. I had an incident with a guildmate who was doing that, and he logged in a day late, literally watching his mansion burn down because he was like an hour late logging in and his building had already been destroyed. Benjamin Franklin says, but in this world nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. Benjamin got it right, because in Archeage you're going to have a lot of both. So the way taxes work is you are allowed to have 1 or 2 properties at no increased cost. As soon as you drop your 3rd property, you begin to pay a tax penalty. I'm going to show you an example in just a moment of how the same piece of property has 4 different rates of tax because of the 4 different characters pre-existing property. To show you how quickly taxes go up, a character with 1 high tax building would only pay 30 tax certificates to drop this cottage, where someone with 6 buildings would have to pay 55. The other thing you need to remember is that every property you have will begin paying a higher tax rate. So if you had a 150 tax building and you drop this extra property, you would probably drive that one up to 175 tax certificates per week. When you start to decide how much property would be feasible for you to own, you can go to one of the many Archeage tax calculators. I happen to like the Archeage Tools one. You see the web address there, and it will let you go in and play around with the different building counts so that you know exactly how many taxes you're going to be paying per week. Now, the 5-week prepay trick is one way that some people get around keeping patron up all the time. You only have to have the patron to place the land or pay the taxes. If the land is placed and it's prepaid, you keep it. So to bring us into game, when I come to my building nameplate, I have this option to prepay my taxes. It will be 150 tax certs per week that I'm going to pay. So to talk about the housing zones real quick, there is no PvP allowed in the mainland housing zones unless the zone is at war. So when I go back into game, the zone is only at tension 1, and I have this red sitting in my chair, and although I have him targeted, I cannot instigate a raid against him because the zone isn't at war. Now, if he sets 1 foot outside of the housing zone, then yes, absolutely, I'll be able to attack him. The other thing you have to realize is that all of the property you can put down, buildings, farms, everything, has to be in a housing zone. Archeage is not a true sandbox where you can just build something anywhere you want. Archeage is got very specific boundary lines for its housing. As you can see, I cannot put a house up out here because these wooden poles show me the edge of the housing zone. I think some of those places would have been outstanding, like out there on that mountain. I would have loved to have had a house, but we're not allowed to do that. And then the climate of the zone. All right, to talk a little more about climates, I'm going to load the map here for Rookborn, and Rookborn is a temperate climate. And as I cursor over my fruited Morgana trees, they have 2 days until they expire. Now, when I harvest the fruit off of one of them, it's going to revert back to needing 1 day, 10 hours, and 17 minutes to fruit again. I happen to have 2 in my bag, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the first one, and it tells you it's going to take 2 days, 34 minutes for this to mature. So then to show you why you want to make sure you're growing things in the specialized region, I'm going to pop myself over to Arkham real quick, and as you can see, Arkham is arid, and when you cursor over the tree, its preferred climate is arid. We take our portal. Alright, I've ported through to the community center, and I am in Arkham Iris, which is an arid climate, and I'm going to take my tree, and I'm going to put it down, and you see this tree is 1 day, 9 hours. Because I've planted the tree in the proper climate, I've taken a huge amount of time off of the growth cycle. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to show you something minor about deciding on a house or a farm. So when I come in, and this isn't my cottage, but I'm going to use it for the example, if you just right-click any seed you have in your bag, it will show you the planting area. Now, if your heart is set on getting a cottage, a 16 by 16, one of these cute little things, what you can do is you can drop it, and then you can rotate it, and you see that extra space I've created? That would give me more planting room in and around the place. So I would be able to fit a couple of trees, maybe a larder on here. But I don't recommend the 16 by 16 for anybody, and I'm going to show you why. So I'm coming up here to a guildmate's house, and as you can see, the thatched farmhouse has a lot more land around it for planting. He's got several trees, apple trees, all sorts of different things. The important part here is that he made a significant investment in the thatched farmhouse, but he's never going to have to make that investment again. The 16 that another guildmate had, it's a small property. Maybe if you had something going on in a small area, it would be worthwhile, but I just can't see the benefit of doing a 16 when there's all these other house styles that you can go to. So you've seen me talk about cottages and thatched farmhouses already, and you can see I don't really recommend the cottage, maybe if it's upgraded, and I'm going to talk about the upgraded cottage a little later. I've shown you the 45-degree rotation trick, and then the thatched farmhouses, I think that these are excellent for any player. They give you a lot of planting space. The upgrading on them does pay off. The upgraded thatched farmhouses can be miners, ranchers, or harvesters, and I'm going to show you those in a minute. When it comes to the residential homes, these are the more elaborate house designs, and I don't recommend them for new players. They can be upgraded, and the upgrading may pay off, but I recommend, honestly, I recommend you as a new player, you just go for that thatched farmhouse. It's exactly what you need if you're going to need somewhere to base out of and grow stuff at. Now, as far as the upgraded farmhouses, all three of the upgraded farmhouses are a great investment. They're a little bit expensive at first. However, they will pay off due to the fact that they have the seed beds, the quests from the jar, and the memory ember. So to start, to show you first the miner's farmhouse. On the back of the miner's farmhouse, there is a drill that runs until it is rank 3. At rank 3, it will simply stop drilling and it will hold all of the minerals that it has drilled up. Sometimes you get more than just iron and stone. I've gotten copper, I've gotten archeum, I've gotten gold. Uh, the other thing the miner's farmhouse has is 2 seed beds. This allows you to basically plant 50 seeds at one time and get the yield for 50 seeds without having to do bundles. To talk about the harvester's farmhouse, it won't have a special function, but it will still have those 2 quests from the jar, the memory ember, but it has 3 seed beds. Now, a lot of people have said, why did I do this one when I could have done another miners? I didn't really need that much more raw stone or raw iron because I already had all of this built. But when I make potions or food or whatever else I have to do, being able to put down 350 seeds at one time is very useful to me. And the last one is the rancher's farmhouse. It has a pen for animals and they don't get sick. Again, it has 2 seed beds, 2 quests from the jar, and a memory ember. And I'm just going to show you what it looks like and how you do this. Basically, instead of having to make pens, you can simply come up and put X amount of animals in, and then you can butcher them if you need to get them out to put something else in. Or you can, in this case, cows. I could feed the cows and milk them. So instead of having to deal with dairy pens that oftentimes break or collapse, I could just put my cows in there and fill my milk needs that way. To talk about the other houses, upgraded houses, the apothecary house we talked about in another video, the armorer's house and the tradesman house. I'm going to show you those in just a second. However, as a new player, I would recommend against you trying to bring one of these to your faction. A lot of the servers have them on public. I know for a fact Selphira has all of them on public. When you're first playing, you have things that you need to spend gold on in other realms. To drop several thousand gold on one of these houses probably isn't necessary. The next type of house I'm going to talk about is mansions. The only reason why I'm mentioning these is players are going to see them. However, they come with a starting price tag of at least 1,000 gilda and almost 10,000 gold in materials. So most of you new players won't be building these. They are nice to have if you have a lot of surrounding property. I've seen a lot of people do some cool stuff with their mansions. They've made the mansions into the crafting centers. Or just really fun places to hang out. As you can see, I had a TV downstairs. I've thought about turning mine into a piano bar, but then I'd have to sell it to the character with all the pianos. And that just is, vanity. But if you are playing the game for that angle, if you like decorating and you want to have a nice big place to decorate, a mansion, you're not going to go wrong with a mansion. And then finally, silos and workbenches. I'm not going to go into details of these today. I'm going to save these for the other video. I just wanted to acknowledge that silos and workbenches do exist. Again, the need for a new player to have these is probably pretty minimal. The only thing I'm going to say about workbenches is if they ever do open up other islands again, that's probably where you would use a workbench. And then when I do the second part of this video, the more advanced video, I'll go into more detail about them. So the next thing to talk about is farms. And as far as farms go, there's 3 types of farms. There's 8x8 gardens, there's 16x16 farms, and there's 24x24 gazebos. Now, you get one basic 8x8 when you follow through the storyline, the quest line. It'll eventually drop you off in the blue salt line, and when you do all the quests, it'll give you an 8x8. You can do one of 3 things with this 8x8. You can drop it down in a housing zone and have 8x8 planting space, or you can upgrade it to the improved scarecrow farm, And so to do that, you open up the craft and type improved scarecrow, and you will find it right here. And it's only 15-20 gold worth of material, and you should be able to turn that into a 16 by 16 farm. Or the last thing you can do is you can turn it into a farmer's workstation. And that gives you access to something that should look familiar if you watched all the other videos. You've seen this exact same menu in at least 2 other videos. I just like having one on my property. Then the next piece is the regular 16 by 16 farm you get from the storyline. And that is, if I have it in my bag, which I do, that is the one that looks just like this. It's going to be similar to the improved scarecrow. There's one that's up right here. As you see, the stick is in the middle, and that gets in your way of planting. And then finally, you have your regular gazebos. And I know that I have one of those left because I've never upgraded it. And that is right here, where the regular gazebo has the gazebo portion right in the middle of the farm, also taking up farming space. Now you'll notice on the slide, I also have solar, lunar, and stellar objects. And these are improved versions of each of the hierarchy. So the improved 8x8 garden is the one you constantly see me talk about up here by the Rookborn jump over. And as you can see, the stick for this one is at the top. So I get the full whole middle of the planting zone to drop packs on. As far as the stellar, lunar, and solar scarecrows, their sticks are also on the edge. So where I would only usually be able to get 8 of these large trees on a 16 by 16, because the stick's out of the way, I can get 9 on. And then finally, the improved pavilion farms, that is when you take one of the 16 by 16s and you do the same thing. We'll do improved. And we take the improved solar farm kit and we add some materials. Now these get more expensive because they require building management titles, but you can upgrade them into these bigger 24 by 24s that again have the gazebo on the border versus in the middle. Now to get these, as you can see, I've listed out the prices. These cost either credits or they cost gilda, which is the only con in these, to be completely honest. They do have a significant cost at the beginning, but once you have them, you'll notice that the pro in them is that they don't count against your total land properties, and they are taxed at a fixed rate. It doesn't matter where you drop this particular pavilion. I'm going to go over to mine so I can open up the tax menu. This will always be 15 taxes. It doesn't matter if I have 60 properties, this one will always be 15. It doesn't matter if I put this one in hostile territory or in Aurora, it will always be 15. That is their major advantage. So the big question I've been asked a number of times though is, how do I justify the price of the solar and the lunar scarecrow gardens? 1,000 credits is an apex, 150 gilda is a significant amount of gilda. And I said, I kept those in a lot of my characters' bags because you never know what's going to happen and you never know when you're going to need to drop an 8x8 somewhere. A couple of times we had stolen some valuable packs and we got to the closest housing zone. We dropped an 8x8, we put the packs on it and we left. We just came back to collect them later. As you saw at the base of the Rookborn Mountain, I keep a plot on guild so that my guild members can jump their packs up to the top of the mountain. And there's other creative ways that you can use 8x8s, but I'm only going to give you those two. If you put your mind to it, I'm sure you can figure out a couple other ways to use an 8x8. And so that's it for this first very basics part of housing and land. I told you that you need Patron. I told you about the taxes and how they're going to go up really quick on you. And I showed you the 5-week prepayment trick. I'm going to splice in that impact of climate when I'm finished with this. And then I talked about houses and farms and a couple of types of houses and a couple of types of farms. What I want everyone to realize is that in the parking lot, that is the list of things that are already on the storyboard for the next part of this video. I'm going to talk about resident tokens in more detail. I'm going to talk about the jar quests. I'm going to talk about the thatched farmhouse and its multi-purpose trimmer, as well as the upgraded house and its complex processing shelf. I didn't talk about water houses at all today, so I'm going to talk about breezy and tidal bungalows. And then I'm going to talk about aqua farms as well. And then I'm going to talk about candy houses because everyone seems to love them now. And then I'm going to talk more in depth about silos and what I really see the future of silos becoming. And that's everything I have for you today. I'm Jalon from the Sulfuria server. If you're on Sulfuria and you need something, go ahead and send me an in-game message or mail. Check out our website or send me an email to the address below. That's it. Class dismissed. Hey, you. Yes, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Hit that subscribe button. Watch a couple of more videos. Go check out our website.